In the book of Kings, it talks about Solomon. And Solomon was the legitimate child of King David. And he almost lost his reign due to a trickery that was done upon King David's deathbed. But King David found out about it and put a stop to it, and Solomon got his birthright given to him, which made him king. Now, because King David was good in God's eyes, God promised him that the kingdom would stay in his generations to come. So Solomon was also good to God. He was also good in God's eyes. He was a good believer. He worshiped God. He did everything that he was supposed to. So God came to him and told him, I will give you anything you want. You just got to ask. Well, Solomon asked for wisdom. God was so impressed with the fact that he asked for wisdom and not wealth or anything else, that he gave Solomon wisdom and wealth. And he had multiple amounts of wealth, like unbelievable amounts of wealth. Now, King Solomon loved the women. He did. And God told him not to marry outside of his nation, because women from other nations worshipped other gods. And if he married them, then he would soon be worshiping other gods. Well, he didn't listen. He didn't listen. So he took on 700 wives from other nations. 700. Not to mention 300 concubines, which is mistresses. He had 300 mistresses who lived there as wives, but were lesser than wives. They were mistresses. They didn't actually have the ability to say, that's my husband. So he had 700 wives and 300 mistresses. Don't know where this man found time. However, he had a thing for women from other nations. And one of his favorite wives was Moti Maris. She was an Egyptian from Memphis. And pretty soon, he was worshiping other gods, just like God told him he would do, and building altars for other gods. So God took all of his kingdoms away, except for one, the one that he promised King David would stay in the family. But other than that, King Solomon lost it all. Now, this woman that his favorite wife, Moti Maris, the Egyptian, she died in the 36th year of Solomon's reign. And she sacrificed herself for her husband. That's how she died. Isn't that crazy? That is crazy to me. Anyway, God told him not to marry these women. And he done it anyway. This is what they talk about, being unequally yoked. Why God talks about being unequally yoked. Because when you're unequally yoked, you will pull away from your God, the one you worship. More likely than the person you are with will come to your God. It does happen that the person you're with will come to your God sometimes, but more times than not, it will happen the other way around. And they will pull you away from your God, and pretty soon you will be worshiping other altars, other gods. This is the best story to explain the unequally yoked and yoked situation. And it does happen. It does happen. A lot of people get married and they break up because their beliefs are not the same. Their morals are not the same. Because usually when your beliefs are not the same, your morals are not the same. And if your morals are not the same, you're not going to raise your kids the same. With the same way. You will have different ideas about raising them. You will have different ideas about how you spend your money. You will have different ideas about what's morally correct and morally wrong. You will have different ideas about what's important and what's not important. You will have different ideas on many, many things. If a person is not walking with God and you are, they're not going to see a problem with watching secular movies and listening to secular music. They're not going to see a problem with drinking. They're not going to see a problem with partying. Where you would be seeing a problem with that. You would not be wanting to do that. This is going to cause conflict between you. When you're spending time with God and they're wanting your time, they're going to try to pull you away from your God so that you are spending time with them and not with God. A lot of times, a person who is involved with someone who is not a believer, the person who's not a believer will become jealous of God. And that is when it really becomes a problem. Also, when it comes to raising the kids, maybe they are an unbeliever and you're a believer and you want to baptize the children, you want to have them go to church and learn the Bible, and they don't see a need for that. They don't want to teach the children. This happened between my mother and my father. My mother was Catholic, my father was not. They made a deal that they would not raise me Catholic and let me grow up to choose what I wanted. However, my mom went behind my dad's back and went and got me baptized at the Catholic Church without my dad knowing. And then he found out, and it was a huge conflict between the two. And ultimately, it became a huge issue. I became a believer, and my ex-husband was not. I wanted to go to church, and he did not. I would read the Bible, and he wanted me to spend time with him. This became an issue in our relationship. The more I learned about God, the more he got angry because his mother was a godly person, and he thought that I was trying to shove this down his throat when I wasn't. Anytime I would talk about it, you were becoming my mother. So I wasn't even allowed to talk about it with him. Wasn't allowed to talk about it around him because he was accusing me of becoming his mother. This became a huge issue in the relationship. Now, being equally yoked and unequally yoked is a huge, huge difference. You might not seem to think so until you get into that relationship, when it becomes a problem. And 99% of the time, either you are going to pull away from God and pull to your spouse, or you're going to have so much conflict that it's going to destroy the relationship. Then this is not okay with God. This is why God warns people not to be unequally yoked. And this goes the same in friendships too, because if you are involved with a friend who is not a believer, they're going to want to go do things that you would not normally do. So they would want to go to the bar. You don't go to the bar because that is not morally correct for you, right? You don't drink. They drink. They partake in street pharmaceuticals. You don't. They do things that you do not do. And this is going to become an issue between you and your friend, because now you don't have the things in common that you started out with if you were before not a Christian and now you are. And then now you're unequally yoked, and now your friendship is going to break up because you have nothing in common and nothing to hang out and talk about. This happens a lot. This is why you have to be equally yoked. God bless you.